Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Hedera and Hbar. So with that being said, I hope that you are all having a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are out there in the world. How is everyone feeling today as we look at the market and we do see some price eruption happening, especially around Hbar? We have been addressing it. We've been talking about it. Hell, even in the Discord server, we've been going crazy talking about Hbar because as we look at this space right now, a ton of altcoins are waking up in a big way. On the 24-hour span, we have double-digit figures across the board. And Hbar, well, it's joining the party on the 7-day span at least. On the 24-hour, we are still up about 5%. Again, as we address this overall market right now, as Bitcoin is going to range between $43,000 to $44,000. Well, guess what? As it's ranging, and as we do see dominance dropping a little bit, we are going to see some altcoin breakouts across the board, and it's very exciting to see this. Now, as we address this and as we look at Hbar, one big thing that I've been addressing is where we are at right now. We're basically at the same exact point nearly that we were at in 2021, January of 2021, I should note, before the big breakout started in the altcoin season. Now, do I think that that's going to be happening right now? Not necessarily, but I do think that a breakout is brewing here. We need to be cautious though, because again, we could see a significant pullback back down to around like roughly 8 cents or so. Anywhere between like 7.5 to 8 cents is a big level of interest, but we need to make sure that we can have a confirmed breakout before we get too excited. But as we look at this on the weekly, I've been addressing the 10-cent zone because on the weekly chart, which Sunday is the weekly candle close, if we could manage to break out of 10 cents and have a weekly candle close above 10 cents, it would be monumental for Hbar. And in the short term, we would be hitting that 15 to 18 cent target that I've been telling you guys about for a little bit of time. So Hbar right now, if you are holding Hbar, this is a must watch weekly candle close. Obviously, in the long-term span of things, we're nowhere close to new all-time highs, but I do believe that we will get there in the next year. I think 2024 is probably going to be very big for a lot of these altcoins, including Hbar, of course. I could be wrong, but I do think that all-time highs will most likely happen for a lot of this market in 2024. So with that being said, let's dive on in and let's talk about a few things. So Charles Adkins, the new president of Hedera, actually put out a post regarding them looking for more individuals to work at Hedera. We do see help us build the future at Hedera. We are seeking a global policy intern for spring of 2024. As Hedera's global policy intern, you will have a unique opportunity to work on exciting global policy projects such as blockchain and DLT, technology development, financial inclusion, international trade, property rights, national security, cryptocurrency, cybersecurity, privacy, human rights, innovation, banking, Web3. Listen, as we look at Hedera, I do think that they are on the same path that a lot of players in the space are on right now. And when I say a lot of players, a lot of the serious, mature players, because this year that we're marching into, 2024, is the time to really expand and build upon all the goals that they have been targeting all of the bear market. Because listen, if we go back to the beginning of the bear market to where we are at right now, Hedera has been non-stop. Now, all they have to do is build upon that and continue to expand. And me personally, I believe that they will accomplish that and do that because what we have seen is zero breaking, no slowing down. Hedera has been nonstop giving us incredible updates and expanding. And even the ecosystem players as well have been expanding rapidly. This has truly been Hedera's year. But also on par with this, we do have a few words from Charles himself. They put out this report yesterday. Newly appointed Hedera Council President Charles Adkins is no newcomer to the world of Web3 and Hedera. As detailed in his latest appearance on Gossip About Gossip, we are grateful to have him on our side as we continue our journey. Check it out.
I was actually, I call it classically trained and schooled in global econ and finance. I started out in investment banking with Morgan Stanley on the private equity side for several years in the very early 2000s. and then moved over to U.S. Department of Treasury, where I held a security cleared position there that mainly watched the functions of online banking and online funds transfers globally, which was a very new thing at the time, although we all know it very well now. Started learning about crypto and NFTs and the whole Web3 ecosystem right around 2013, 2014. Ended up at Polygon as the vice president of enterprise applications and financial services in Polygon, very early days there, and then on to Aptos Labs, where I led global business partnerships there. And I've known about Hedera for a long time. I've seen a couple tweets already out there, or X messages out there now joking how I've talked about and known about Hedera for 3 or 4 years and what took me so long. So yeah, I'm officially here now.
So you guys have it. And again, these are substantial backgrounds that these individuals come from. The team over at Hedera is extremely stacked. But beyond that, like I said, these are individuals that come from substantial backgrounds. They're not just jumping in on these companies just to say, oh, hey, I'll just add another name to my resume. No, they're coming from backgrounds where they didn't need to leave their positions. They could have stayed at those positions, but they see the significance of these names. It's just like Brian Brooks, right? We talked about Brian Brooks, very substantial player in the banking and the financial space. He came over to join Hedera as well. But beyond this, we also seen another major milestone achieved from the SaucerSwap Labs team. Major milestone achieved. Their total value locked has just breached $50 million. Guys, I keep telling you that you need to pay attention to DeFi on Hedera. I don't care about anyone's opinion on how, TVL doesn't mean anything. TVL doesn't mean that. Listen, go look at the largest chains out there that hold the largest market caps in the space. All of their TVL is stacked. It is a crucial statistic to look at. And it also shows you significant adoption and volume being traded from the retail side of things. As we look at also the DeFi players and the decentralized exchange players in the space that are dominant forces, like for an example, Uniswap Labs, guess what? Uniswap is just now saying goodbye to front-running and sandwich attacks. Uniswap X returns surplus generated by MEV back to swappers via price improvements. Now this is insane that these big players like Uniswap are now just changing the game when we already had this available on Hedera from SaucerSwap Labs. The issues of MEV, maximal extractable value, and front running are prevalent across many blockchains. However, these problems simply do not exist on the Hedera network. Hedera's unique Hashgraph consensus algorithm, operating without a mempool and bypassing the conventional block structure, vulnerable to bribes and toxic order flow, ensures fair transactions ordering. This sets SaucerSwap and other Hedera-based dApps apart. And yes, this is something that I've been saying with Hedera for the longest time. When we look at the long-term players that have been around this space for a while versus Hedera and all of the major dApps building out on Hedera, it's night and day differences. And you could also accommodate this towards Hedera's efficiencies and everything that Hedera has to offer, but you could also accommodate it to the value and the quality of these players that are building out on Hedera. This is what I've said many times in the past will set Hedera apart from the other players in the top 5, the top 10, the top 15, top 20. But this is also what will allow the doors to open for Hedera to actually unlock a significant move all the way to the top 10 and even possibly the top 5 eventually. When we look at all the chains, Hedera is sitting at number 43. Now that might not seem significant, but when we actually look at the value in terms of TVL on Hedera, it is something very special. We've seen this year, right, going all the way back to February, we were sitting at about roughly 142 all the way to about roughly $162 million in TVL. Right now, we're sitting at about roughly $88 million, but this has been on a nice upward trajectory, which is very exciting. But look at the change in terms of the 1-day percentage, the 7-day percentage, and even the 1-month percentage change. look at how the overall ecosystem around the DeFi space on Hedera is starting to expand. TVL on SaucerSwap is almost at $51 million. It's become a dominant force. Stater is still there, but look at the changes here in terms of the 1 month. I mean, Hedera is changing the game right now. And SaucerSwap is a giant player within the DeFi space on Hedera. But also, what's crazy about all of this is only going to continue to rise. Why? Because again, as we look at all these chains, right, it's a cluster. All of these players here versus Hedera are nowhere near the efficiencies to have DeFi and tokenization and combining all of these transactions. The demand can only be accountable on something like Hedera. And I don't say that to be biased or anything. No, I mean, as we look at a lot of these large transactions, you could not move a lot of these transactions over Hedera or over Ethereum or, over some of these other platforms. That's what really sets Hedera apart. And I've mentioned this in the past. That's also why I do think that real world asset tokenization on Hedera is going to be a big game changer. Just back in September, there was almost $2 billion in real world asset tokenization. We see here from the DeFi investor, I'm convinced that RWA will be a leading narrative in the bull run. The reasons for this are many. It's easy to understand for retail. Institutions are betting big on real world asset tokenization. It's the fastest growing DeFi sector by TVL. And yes, it is. This is another big thing that I talk about with TVL. Like right now, Hedera might be number 43. But what happens when real world asset tokenization starts growing massively on Hedera, which in my opinion will most likely happen in 2024. Why? Because in 2023, they already lined up significant plays in this space. Going back to June 1st, Quarter, the US's first fractional equity home funding program and platform, has announced the equity tokenization of a $740,000 home with third-party investors supplying 97% of the purchase capital as alternative financing to mortgage credit using Toko network. And remember, Toko is an absolute giant that I've been talking about for a while with Hedera, and this is all built out on Hedera. We do see this represents a pivotal moment in Web3, proof of the potential DLT has to democratize finance on an unprecedented scale through fractionalization, efficient ownership transfer, increased liquidity, and heightened trust. But beyond this, Red Swan as well back in May. And we know Red Swan has a large ambition to become a giant within real estate. Red Swan CRE builds its token studio on Hedera for real-world asset tokenization. This is a commercial real estate company with $5 billion in assets under management. We also know that last year, Boston Consulting Group predicted that $16 trillion in assets could be tokenized by 2030, and several large players have already been looking into this as well. But tokenization on Hedera, it's a game changer. It really is. We even see here that the native HTS functionalities of optional know your customer, anti-money laundering, and royalties enforced on chain mean that they can both issue their tokens as securities as well as adjust their product offering in line with regulatory bodies. We know Hedera has been extremely compliant and they've been working with regulators as well. So as we really look at this, I really think that this is going to be a massive game changer, especially in the real estate game. And real estate is a massive asset class as well. Also, Aberdeen, back in June as well, tokenizes money market fund on Hedera with Arcix. And we know that this has been recently expanding rapidly. And this is a multi-billion-dollar money market fund. Guys, when we look at what's happening here, I mean, this is why I keep telling you guys, you need to pay attention to the most efficient players around the space, especially ones that are targeting tokenization, DeFi, decentralized banking, SocialFi, gaming, AI. All of this is happening within Hedera. Also, from SaucerSwap, they actually quoted this. There is no better network for real-world assets than Hedera. As the fastest growing sector in DeFi by total value locked, real-world assets are making significant progress on Hedera, highlighted by the recent launch of Diamond Standard and their fungible token on SaucerSwap. We are thrilled to see Hedera take the lead in defining the future of DeFi. And this is why I say, pay attention to all the chains within the DeFi space and pay attention to DeFi on Hedera, because I really do think that 2024, I actually believe that the TVL on Hedera, considering the fact that we hit nearly $200 million in TVL in the middle of a bear market, I believe that going into 2024 and possibly even 2025, that Hedera could boast a significant value. I'm not going to say $1 billion in terms of TVL, but it could very well hit $1 billion in TVL. And I wouldn't be surprised by it at all, considering the fact that right now, there's many players in this space that already have $1 billion in TVL. I mean, you have Optimism, Polygon, Avalanche, Ton, Arbitrum, Solana, BSC, Tron, and of course, Ethereum being the largest player here. So as we look at TVL, yeah, I would not be surprised by $1 billion in TVL. I wouldn't even be surprised by $5 billion in TVL, considering all of the big plays that Hedera has already made this year alone around tokenization. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Peace out.